This is Danny Flexon here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by former European champion and now a top trainer, Jamie Moore. How you doing?
Dan, you okay?
I'm good, mate. I'm good.
I forgot I used to be European champion. No one's mentioned that for 10 years.
You definitely were. I think I was there when you won it. So yeah, definitely happened. So big controversy after Saturday night, after the fight between your man Jack Catterall and Josh Taylor. I guess a good place to start would be just before the verdict was read out. How confident were you that you'd get it, bearing in mind you were in Scotland and it was on a boxer or top rank show?
Well, first of all, let's go back to 3, maybe even 6 months, whenever it was before, when Josh beat Ramirez. Even then, and so we thought Josh would win. I thought he'd get the win over Ramirez, and I was confident then. I was confident all the way through training camp because of my confidence in Jack Catterall's ability. And so obviously setting out a plan on how to beat someone like Josh is always more difficult. Obviously, the higher up the ladder you go, and one of the main things for that, or one of the main ingredients as a trainer, is the caliber of fight you have, and their ability to stick to the tactics, stay composed. Have they got the right type of attributes to be able to do that? So as good as, I said this so many times in the build-up, I'm a Josh Taylor fan. I love watching him fight, but I just knew I had a fighter in Jack who could nullify all his best assets and cause him big problems himself. I knew that Jack was stronger than people give him credit for, punches harder, his ring IQ is second to none, and his ability. So I didn't even think about where the fight was taking place at all. I promise you, I didn't think. And it was only on the Thursday before, and Umar said to me, "Are you worried about getting a decision in Scotland?" And I said, "Do you know what? I've not even thought about it. Honestly, not thought once about it, because I'm that confident in Jack's ability, and I'm confident enough that it's in Britain and there'll be no funny business going on. They're both British guys." And as soon as that first card got read out and I heard Jack's name, I sort of thought, we're getting jobbed here, because but as soon as a name gets read out, it's a split.
Split, yeah.
And never in a million years, going into during the 8th round when he put him down. So after 6 rounds, I was sort of thinking, maybe the second round could go either way. It's either 6-0 or 5-1.
Yeah.
I thought Josh won the 7th, and then when he put him down in the 8th, I sort of hit Nige, and I went, he needs a knockout now. I said, he can't win unless he knocks him out. And as soon as they read his name out, I just thought, we're getting jobbed here. And then so it came to pass, and it's opened up such a big kind of, I've never seen a reaction like this, to be honest, Danny. I've been involved 30 years, been involved in professional boxing for 22, and I've never known an outcry like this. And I think there's been bigger robberies, but because it's so close to home and it's happened that often recently, people are just going, right, we've had enough of this now, and rightly so. And even though it's such a tough pill to swallow, if and when something gets done about this now, then even though it won't ever give Jack that night back, and he can never have that moment what he should have had, then if the sport changes for the better, then it'll soften the blow a little bit more. Because listen, I love the sports bits. I've been obsessed with it since I was 10, 11 years old, and even though for all the wrong reasons, if we've got a little bit of an involvement in making the sport better in the long run, then at least there's something good come out of it. You know what I mean?
Now, the scorecards have since been published, and the biggest thing that surprised me was that the 3 judges agreed on 10 out of the 12 rounds. which is even more concerning than the split decision in itself. What's the explanation for that in your view? Why do you think they're all kind of seemingly getting it wrong?
Mate, honestly, I have no answer to that question. The only thing, the only sort of plausible explanation, people keep talking about corruption and stuff like that. And anybody who's been involved in this sport will tell you the same thing. I've never heard of, known, seen any type of corruption. The only plausible explanation for me is they're all in Scotland. Nobody's giving Jack a chance before the fight. Literally nobody. The bookies had it massive odds-on favourite for Josh. And the atmosphere in the place was unbelievable. The only thing I can think of is they maybe were sat there watching it, going, this is going to be a foregone conclusion, and maybe watching it and just enjoying the fight rather than actually scoring it properly. I don't know. I'm just surmising. For me, there's just no explanation. I sort of broke it down like this yesterday, and I was going, I've watched it about 3 times now. Tried me utmost to give Josh what I could. Can give him 4 rounds. One of those is one of them which is swing round, could go either way. And even if you push it to 5, which I don't think you can. Now, if you push it to 6, which I think is impossible, but if you push it to 6, then Jack still wins because of the knockdown.
Yeah.
So I just find it impossible to understand how somebody scored it for Josh, and even more so the Ian John Lewis's scorecard. It was so wide, it's just insane. I think he scored Jack 2 rounds. So it's unbelievable, honestly.
Ian John Lewis is apparently going to be meeting with the Board of Control next week. The other 2 apparently not being called before the board, Robert Smith said in an interview with Fight Disciples. What would you like to see happen as a result, not just with Ian John Lewis, but generally? What would you like the board?
Yeah, first of all, as much as I'm disappointed, I don't want to pile on Ian John Lewis. No. I don't think that's fair. Even he's a human being at the end of the day, and I honestly, I don't want or feel like anything should happen to him in that sense. From a professional point of view, maybe I'm imagining something's going to happen, like they're going to give him a suspension, or they might not publicly do that. They might just say, take a bit of time away and have just relax. I can imagine in a big fight like that, there's a lot of pressure. There's certainly a lot of pressure involved. You could feel it. The size and the magnitude of the fight where you could feel that little bit of extra pressure. But we all know that. We all understand the pressures of the game, and it sort of increases slowly and slowly. So you just get used to it. And those guys have been doing this game a long time. I mentioned this earlier on as well. Victor Locker and I've got quite a good relationship with Victor because of our connection with the Matthew Macklin fight. He was the referee for that fight, and a lot of respect for him in the sense that I know he's a genuine, honest man, and I don't question his integrity whatsoever. I just the only plausible explanation I can see is that they've not actually read it right because they've been involved in it and they've not, they've just been swayed a little bit. I don't know.
What would you like to see the Board of Control do? Well, not necessarily to the individuals involved, but just generally going forward, how would you like to see them resolve the situation?
Well, I think this debate has been going on for a long time, hasn't it? How do we make it better? How do we fix it? Do we change the scoring? And if there was a simple, logical explanation, I'm sure it'd have been done by now. So, how do we make this better? The only big, I think, judging, it's opinions, and I think it needs to be more structured so that it's a proper, structured, rule-based opinion rather than just, it's what I prefer. Because that's too easy a get-out clause to go, you don't have to. So if they get shown that video and watch back and you go, why did you score that round to him? And they can simply say, I preferred his work. And there's no proper technical base to that. So maybe the judging system needs to be and we're talking about a worldwide system here, so I understand how difficult this is, but everybody's got to be on the same page. And if the governing bodies are always, going tit for tat with each other, trying to get one over each other, and I find it unbelievable that I have to go to a rules meeting before a world title fight, as if you don't know the rules of a boxing match, and get explained the different governing bodies' rules to certain things. Like some of them have a free knockdown rule and some of them don't. I don't understand why it's not a universal thing, so that, let's save everyone half an hour after the weigh-in, when you can't be asked going doing that, telling you rules which you should know if you hold a license for boxing. It should be a universal system. And one other thing is, I feel, which is obviously come to light with discussions about this, is, Rob Smith's under a lot of pressure now. And again, it's his job, but he's in a position now, Rob, where he can do something for the greater good of the sport. And this could be a landmark turning point. And if he's, someone's got to be brave enough to do it, basically. There's too many people going, well, yeah, it was close and I thought Jack won it, but, what can we do with these people's opinions? They can't wash any more of that. And it's going to turn people away. Like I said in the interview on Sky afterwards, my son was with me that night and he was walking out the arena and he just went, why do I love boxing? And it was a genuine sort of heartfelt emotion come out of him. And he brought me out, and I thought, I bet if he's here now saying that to me, I wonder how many kids across the country and across the world think that when they see boxing. And when I mentioned it in the Sky interview, it seems to really hit on with people. Maybe nobody had ever looked at it from that point of view before. I'd never done, to be honest. And it'll ruin the future of the sport in that sense, because that might be a reason why kids go, not getting involved in that sport, because why do I work all my life to get ripped off like that?
Yeah, no, I can understand that. Josh put out a statement, I think it was 2 days ago, saying he still believes he won the fight. I mean, I guess as a fighter, you kind of have to believe that. But also that he'd happily have a rematch with Jack at 147. He didn't say immediate rematch. Just wanted to know if any official offer has come out in that regard.
I've not heard about an official offer for a rematch, but, obviously it'd be something what we'd be interested in. Jack's not small for a 140 fighter himself. People have been saying like Josh should be forced into it. He should have to do that before he takes another fight. But if he's outgrown the weight and it's a safety issue, then nobody should be forced to fight our weight what they're not comfortable at.
You know that as well as anyone. Absolutely.
So and Josh is a proud man. He's a fighter by nature, and he's always going to push that he believes he won the fight. So I don't expect anything else. I never expected a different reaction from him. And the big thing I've been mentioning all week is the amount of well-respected, experienced pundits, managers, promoters, boxers who've been around this game for decades. Can't all be wrong. There's too many. There's not even a handful of people who are well respected in the game who think Josh won, and there's thousands and thousands of people. And I don't want to disregard boxing fans in the sense that they don't know what to talk about, because obviously they do, and especially hardcore boxing fans know how to score a fight. But fans there on the night who are at the back of the arena who feel like Jack won, but or maybe some of the Scottish fans feel like Josh won, but you can't really score it properly unless you can see what's actually taking place involved. There's a lot of subtleties what going on and stuff like that. And but the amount of people who are well respected in the game, I've never seen a reaction like it. Everyone seems to be on the same page in that Josh won roughly about four rounds, three or four rounds. Most people are saying, and they can't really score any more than that. And maybe one thing what could make it better. This is one thing what I certainly think the British Boxing Board of Control should look at is, okay, we can't do anything about this now. You know, VAR have come out and admitted that they made a mistake about the penalty last week.
Yeah.
So they can't do anything about the result now, but they've come out and admitted they was wrong. The Boxing Board of Control could come out and say, listen, we feel like the judges got it wrong, and they could make it a no contest, or could try and enforce a rematch, even though that's difficult because of the governing bodies. One thing what they could do, and I'm not sure whether they would be able to, but is then get 3 independent judges to sit and watch the fight with no commentary, no sound, and if all 3 agreed that the wrong person won, then they could be the decision could be overturned. But it's going to take a brave man to do that, and that's what I'm saying about. I know it's a difficult decision for Rob, but to make this sport better and to give anybody a chance of righting those wrongs what have been done, then that'd be fair. Do you know what? If that happened, it has to be independent judges, though. It couldn't be somebody from the boxing board. I made this point the other day: is the board oversee the fight? Let's, you know, blanket the board as one in terms of the judges and the refereeing and everybody else. They judged the fight, came to a conclusion that Josh Taylor won. Then, because of the backlash, have said we'll launch an inquiry on themselves. So the boxing board do an inquiry on themselves and then decide about that inquiry themselves. So it's a conflict of interest, and there needs to be a governing body or oversees that, you know, and maybe an international one, which goes, okay, you know, the WBC, for instance, might score a fight and there's a bit of a controversy. So then they have to be answerable to someone, because if they're not, then they just make the rules up as they go, and it's ruining people's lives. You know, Jack Catterall's lost a hell of a lot of money now because of that decision, and you know, it's undoable at the moment. Whereas if it wasn't undoable, if there was some way where they could look back and be honest and go, okay, we've got that one wrong, let's rectify it. You know, it's not impossible, that.
Have you had any contact with the world governing bodies, particularly the WBO, because Jack was their mandatory challenger?
I'm just a trainer, so I've not personally, but I've been told that they have the management team and promoters have been in contact. You know, for instance, Ben Shalom has lodged an official complaint, and he's not Jack Catterall's promoter. He doesn't have to fight Jack's corner. So there's people involved who are trying to fight for him who don't really necessarily have to. But I think there's been a request put in to the WBO for an immediate rematch. So because I'm assuming Josh is going to move up, I'm 99% certain he's going to. So in that scenario, then Jack would fight for the world title next. And you know, I know Josh has said that he would box Jack again, and like you said, it might not be straight away. So if Jack could win the world title, and not by any stretch of the imagination does it help or fix what's happened, but he then goes into a rematch with Josh at a higher weight as a world champion himself. So that carries a little bit more weight, and I think it'd probably make the rematch a little bit more appetizing as well.
How is Jack getting on now?
Do you know what? He was really bad the first couple of days, as you can imagine. Yesterday when I spoke to him, the first time, he had sort of a bit of a spring in his step. There's stuff going on in the background with you know, movements going on about trying to get things in position for him, and he had a little bit of a chirpier sound in his voice. I was on FaceTime to him, and he looked better, and he was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm not gonna sort of sit here sulking. I'll be in the gym on Monday, and as soon as they get me a date, if they can get me this vacant world title shot, he said, I'm going to fucking smash it. So you can see that anger now is turned to motivation. And I did worry. I was thinking, you know, some fights are never the same again after stuff like that happens. But, I mentioned in the build-up, I've never known a more dedicated fighter than Jack. All the way through, for the last 2 years when he's been sat there waiting, every week, at least three days a week, he's in the gym. He spars once a week. He's such a consummate professional, and that's what also makes it so gut wrenching, because if you lost fair and square, you just hold your hands up and go, listen, it just wasn't quite good enough. But he didn't, and for 2 years I've sat in the gym with him. These little bumps in the road and ups and downs, and he's got to wait, and he couldn't fight Hooker, then he couldn't fight Ramirez, then does he step aside for the greater good? Is he going to get blocked out by the promoters if he doesn't step aside? All them scenarios, and I'm constantly saying to him, please just have faith in the process, everything will work out okay. And in the changing rooms just before we left, I said to him, remember all them conversations we've had, and I kept saying to you, don't worry about it, eventually it'll all come good. This is the fucking night it comes good. And I said it to him in the ring straight after. I said, I fucking told you. And you can actually see on the cameras, and he sort of hugged me because I was so confident he'd done it, as everyone else was. And then as soon as he heard his name and that first card, my stomach just sank.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I think, I sat there and watched it on TV. I had him, wide ahead. So, yeah, I mean, I can't explain it any better than you can at this stage, but I hope the Board of Control do something to, as you said, to make things better, not for Jack in the short term, of course, but for the sport as a whole. Exactly.
If there's one good thing what comes of it, which there isn't that many for us, I think in the long run, once the sort of pain heals a little bit, if the sport starts to change in a more positive direction because of it, then that'll be a little bit of a sort of blow softener.
I really appreciate your time, especially so soon after it happened. And yeah, let's see how things unfold. But fingers crossed. And we're all, well, most of us, I don't know, I can't speak for everyone, but I think most people out there are in your corner on this one.
Yeah, cheers, Dan. Appreciate that, mate. Thank you.